Hello, dear students. Very good morning, all of you. Everyone, in this class, we're going to further discuss the topic contemporary South Asia. So far, we have discussed about Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, the democratic or dictatorial setup in Pakistan. Today, we're going to discuss about the India-Pakistan relationship. That will be our next topic. So far, you all know that in South Asian region, mainly we are talking about the countries of Indian subcontinent region: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. Now, with this topic, India-Pakistan conflicts, we're going to understand that what has been the relationship between India and Pakistan so far. You know, when 1947 partition happened in from India, Pakistan was created further on the issue of the two nation theory. Now, since then, since independence, there has been continuous struggle between both the countries. Even there have been wars between the countries in 1947, in 1965, in 1971, and in 1999 also. Currently, also the relationship between India and Pakistan is not so good. So that's what we're going to discuss in this topic, India-Pakistan conflict. You all are familiar with this topic because this topic is also very popular in Indian news channel as well as in Pakistan news channel. That both the countries, political leadership, they blame each other, and we have a kind of trust deficit regarding each other. You know, there is a lack of trust in the relationship of India and Pakistan. Now, let's start reading the paragraph. Let us now move from domestic politics and take a look at some of the other areas of conflict in the international relations in this region. The post-Cold War era has not meant the end of conflicts and tensions in this region. Even after post-Cold War, throughout the world, what happened? Because when the Cold War ended, when USSR was disintegrated, so there was a kind of world only superpower left. So not kind of block system was there. Na? It was as it was in earlier time period during the Cold War period. So there was a kind of international peace and tranquility in the regions, in many regions of the world. But even after Cold War, the tension between India and Pakistan remained as high as it was in the Cold War time period. After that, in 1999, we had Kargil issue. So we had even battle with Pakistan over Kargil. So that's how our relationship has been. Now, we have already noted the conflicts around internal democracy or ethnic differences, Sinhalas versus Tamils in Sri Lanka, or in other areas like in Nepal, the triangular conflict, which was fought between the monarchy and the Maoist and the Democrats. Yes, so that's how everyone, the conflict around internal democracy or ethnic differences is there in this South Asian region. There are also some very crucial conflicts of an international nature. Given the position of India in this region, most of these conflicts involve India. Because you all know that in this region, in South Asian region, in Indian subcontinent region, India is a big country, powerful country also. So therefore, the most of the conflict around in this region, it automatically involves India, and because India is at the center of the South Asia, so therefore we share boundary with our neighboring countries. So we are also involved in many of the regional matters. So therefore, in these conflicts, India gets itself involved or it is involved in these all conflict of the South Asian region. Now, the most serious and overwhelming of these conflicts is, of course, the one between India and Pakistan. Because both are nuclear capable country, both have deterrence, the nuclear power, atomic bombs. So sometimes the tension rises at the very peak. So therefore, many times even we had battle, we had war with Pakistan. So therefore, soon after the partition, now what, soon after the partition, the two countries got embroiled in the conflict over the fate of Kashmir. So when we got independence in 1947, since then we have been fighting with each other. The initial differences aroused, they rise with the encroachment of Pakistan guerrillas in the Kashmir region, because Kashmir was a princely state. That's what you read in the previous chapters also. Kashmir was a princely state, and when Britishers just left India, they gave choice to the princely states that either they may be with India or with Pakistan, or even they may remain free. So Kashmir was also a kind of princely state which wanted to remain free, wanted to like have all the power in its hand. And at that time, the king was Hari Singh. You know, Hari Singh was the king of Kashmir. So he was in that dilemma. So ultimately, Pakistani guerrillas, the Kabaili guerrillas, and Pakistani army, they took the opportunity, and in 1947, after independence, they like invaded the region of Kashmir. So since then, we have been fighting with Pakistan over this issue. So this issue is also very important issue and very like a core issue between India and Pakistan. Now, so wars between India and Pakistan in 1947, 48, 1965, they all failed to settle this dispute. Even currently also, we have been facing the differences over this issue. Pakistani many times claim this particular area, and India obviously we regard it as our sovereign breach of our sovereignty. Hai na? This is our integral part, Jammu and Kashmir. So when the 1947-48 invasion happened of Pakistani invaders, at that time they occupied certain part of the Kashmir, and that region is now called as POK, Pakistani Occupied Kashmir. A kind of temporary borderline was made, because the issue was it was taken to the UN, United Nations, and United Nations sorted out the dispute and said that all the parties whosoever are there involved in the conflict, they must remain there wherever they are, and negotiate and just conduct referendum. That's how the issue can be sorted out. So a temporary border was made, and that temporary border is known as LOC, line of control. So wars between India and Pakistan, 47, 48, 65, they all failed to settle this matter. 1947-48 war resulted in the division of the provision into Pakistani occupied Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir, which we have. So that the first invasion or the first fight which we had with Pakistan, a kind of official fight, Kashmir was bifurcated in that fight. Division happened of Kashmir. Certain areas of Kashmir, it went into the hands of the Pakistani, and that region is now called as POK in our country, Pakistani occupied Kashmir. Now, very interesting fact, all of you being political science student, एक बड़ा interesting fact आपको बताऊं, और आपको पता भी होगा that Pakistani say this region as a kind of आजाद कश्मीर. हम उसको बोलते हैं पाकिस्तानी ऑक्यूपाइड कश्मीर. पाकिस्तान में इसी रीजन को क्या बोला जाता है? आजाद कश्मीर. And the region which is of our Jammu and Kashmir, that region in Pakistan is called as Ghulam Kashmir. So it's very interesting the politics, how politics plays its role. We can understand through this example also. So that's how POK and Indian we have that Jammu and Kashmir. So that was the first initiation of battle. And then next in 1971 also we had war, the Bangladesh Liberation War. Even then also the Kashmir issue remained unsettled. So still this issue is a core issue between India and Pakistan. Okay. Now we have tensions in this region. We have already noted the conflict around. We have we have discussed all these regional problems. So here also you can understand that being important countries in this region, India and Pakistan, the disputes between India and Pakistan must be settled. That's how the region can get progress. The growth can be guaranteed. Otherwise, what will happen? You know, there is another cartoon given to you here. Here you can see this cartoon. This cartoon is representing the SARC. that is South Asian Regional Corporation, South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. This is an association which was an which was the main motive of forming this association was to have regional cooperation in this region. But what happened? It was formed in 1985. But what happened? This association remained unsuccessful. Why? Here in this cartoon, you can understand why. Like you can see all the chairs here. The name of the states are written there, but you can specifically see India and Pakistan. How this regional association has become a kind of an association where two countries, because of their differences, they always always try to dominate this association, and due to that what happens, the intent of this association, the regional growth, that gets hampered, वो उससे नुकसान पहुंचता है उसको. इसीलिए through this cartoon we can understand that how the dispute between India and Pakistan must be sorted out. Now next, everyone, so India's conflict with Pakistan have also strategic issues. We also have strategic issues like control of Siachen Glacier and over acquisition of arms. The arms race between the two countries assumed a new character. As you know that both countries acquired the nuclear weapons and missiles to deliver such kind of disastrous arms, nuclear weapons. In 1998, first in May 1998, India conducted its nuclear test in Pokhran, that is regarded as Pokhran second. ये इसको ऑपरेशन शक्ति भी बोलते हैं. ये जो अंडर अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी गवर्नमेंट, ये जो टेस्ट पोखरण में हुए थे राजस्थान के अंदर, ऑपरेशन शक्ति या न्यूक्लियर पोखरण सेकंड मिशन भी बोला जाता है इसको. ठीक है. नाउ विद इन फ्यू डेज इन पाकिस्तान ऑल्सो, पाकिस्तान कंडक्टेड इट्स न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट. पाकिस्तान ने भी वहां पे अपने न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट किए. बलूचिस्तान उनका एक प्रोविंस है. बलूचिस्तान प्रोविंस में चगाई हिल्स जो है रीजन है, वहां पे उन्होंने अपना न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट कंडक्ट किया. दैट्स हाउ यू नो both the countries are nuclear capable countries. So both countries we have that kind of arm race also, and some strategic locations to have control on those strategic locations. That is also our issue of conflict, like Siachen Glacier. You know, Siachen Glacier पे Indian Army आज हमारे पास है वो सियाचिन ग्लेशियर. एंड स्ट्रेटेजिकली वो क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है? बिकॉज अगर वो ग्लेशियर हमारे हाथ से चला जाए तो देयर विल बी अ डायरेक्ट लिंक बिटवीन पाकिस्तान एंड चाइना. एंड वो क्या होंगे, वो पीक्स पर दैट विल बी ऑक्यूपाइड बाय आवर एडवर्स कंट्रीज. सो दैट मैटर्स फॉर अस अ लॉट. वैसा ही पाकिस्तानी ऑब्वियसली थिंक करते हैं, स्ट्रेटेजिकली इंपॉर्टेंट है. अदरवाइज सर क्रीक जो गुजरात के रीजन रन ऑफ कच्छ में आता है, तो वो भी एक इशू है हमारे बीच में. तो ऐसा नहीं कि ओनली कश्मीर इज द इशू. कश्मीर इज ऑब्वियसली द काइंड ऑफ कोर इशू बिटवीन इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान, बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट सम अदर स्ट्रेटेजिक पोजीशंस, स्ट्रेटेजिक एरियाज आल्सो unsettled disputes are there. So India's conflict with Pakistan also over strategic issues like control of Siachen Glacier and acquisition of arms. Arm race between the two countries assumed a war character with both the states acquiring nuclear weapons. So in 1998, first India conducted a nuclear explosion in Pokhran. Then Pakistan, within few days, they responded, and by carrying out nuclear tests in Chagai Hills in Balochistan. Since then, India and Pakistan seem to have built a military relationship in which the possibility of direct and full-scale war has declined. However, very interestingly, after the connection of that nuclear test in 1999, Kargil war happened. However, that was a kind of battle limited to only some extent in a particular area of that Dras and Kargil sector. But the militaries also understand that we cannot both the countries cannot afford that full scale war. There will be, because nuclear weapons, atomic weapons, they cannot be used. Being political science student, you all know that they are just deterrents. वो सिर्फ क्या होते हैं? Deterrents होते हैं. That you read in the first number chapter, Cold War. Both the governments continue to be suspicious of each other. So therefore, there is a lack of trust trust deficit is there. So both of the governments see each other as in a suspicious manner. The Indian government, and we just give the facts also, we blame that Pakistani government using a strategy of low-key violence by helping the Kashmiri militants with arms, training, money, and protection to carry out terrorist strikes against India. You know, in 2008, what happened? In Mumbai, the massacre was done by the terrorists. So all the terrorists, they belong to Pakistan. You know, so that's why we say that Pakistanis are involved in the terrorist strikes in India. They just try to destabilize India with these kind of tactics and tricks, and that's not a good sign. Even that creates trust deficit. Indian government also believe that Pakistani also aid the pro-Khalistani militants. You know, many pro-Khalistani militants. Now, the Khalistanis are those who support secession of Punjab from India. They want Punjab as an independent nation. So Pakistani support pro-Khalistani supporters also. That's also not good for India's point of view. And their intelligence agency ISI, that is inter-service service intelligence. And we just put too many facts and evidences. Indian government always blame and always put evidences also that ISI is involved in many kind of terrorist activities and other destructive activities in India. Now, ISI is alleged to be involved in various anti-India campaigns in India's northeast, operating secretly through Bangladesh and Nepal. They just support the secessionist, or they are in this northeastern region also, ISI. The government of Pakistan also blames India. They say that the involvement of RAW, Research and Analytical Wing, that is our spy agency. Pakistani say the same thing, that RAW is involved in the Balochistan region or the Sindh region. They create, like RAW is, or Indian government is creating disturbances there. So in turn, they blame the Indian government and its security agencies for fomenting trouble in the provinces of Sindh and Balochistan. India and Pakistan also have had problems over the sharing of river waters. You know, Indus water, this from the Himalayas, that water goes to the west side, and then from Pakistan to the Arabian Sea. So we have differences over the river water also. Ultimately, you know, the Indus Water Treaty was signed with the mediation. It was done by the World Bank in 1960, and India and Pakistan both signed that Indus Water Treaty. So mediator agency was World Bank at that time. So which has survived to this day in spite of differences, in spite of military conflicts in which the two countries have been involved. There are still some minor differences about the interpretation of the Indus Water Treaty and the uses of river waters. The two countries are not in agreement over the demarcation line in Sir Creek. That's what we were discussing. So the region of the Sir Creek, that is in Run of Kutch, that is also strategically very important place. So there has not been proper demarcation of the border there also. So many times, issues arises there also. The disputes seems minor, but there is an underlying worry that how the dispute is settled may have an impact on the control of sea resources in the area adjoining Sir Creek. So Sir Creek is also very important area, because it is strategically very important that the country which will have rule in this region, so therefore they will control the resources which are available in this region. So that issue is also a kind of important issue between India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan are holding negotiations on all these issues, so to sort out these issues. So that's how all of you, now you all are familiar that what kind of issues we are facing with India and Pakistan, and the conflict between India and Pakistan. Here another cartoon is given to you in this topic. Here you can see a view of the current phase of the Indo-Pak negotiation. And here you can see a kind of, there is a game called musical chair game. So here, like Dr. Manmohan Singh is representing India. He was Prime Minister of India. General Parvez Musharraf. So when General Parvez Musharraf came here, so this cartoon was drawn in the Hindu newspaper. So it was showing you that how to resolve that kind of dilemma, that kind of problem, how to just settle the disputes with negotiation. That is very important for India and Pakistan, both of the country. If the disputes will be sorted out, then both the country will get the benefit from this. Yes, now dear students, we have come to our next topic, that is India and its other neighbors. So India and Pakistan being like very important countries separately, this topic is given to you in your chapter also. So we have discussed thoroughly that what kind of relationship of India and Pakistan is there, what kind of differences, which are the core issues between India and Pakistan. Now we have come to our next topic, and we're going to discuss between India and Bangladesh, between India and Sri Lanka, between India and Nepal. What has been the relationship? Now, first, India and Bangladesh. So the government of India and Bangladesh have had differences over several issues. So it is not like not only with Pakistan, like पड़ोसी देश जो है, पड़ोसियों के साथ में भी आपस में कई बार डिफरेंसेस हो जाते हैं, छोटे मोटे चीजें चलती रहती है. इन फैमिली ऑल्सो मैनी डिफरेंसेस अराइजेस. तो वैसे ही बीइंग कंट्रीज में भी आपस में डिस्प्यूट्स होते हैं. डिस्प्यूट किसी भी इशू को लेकर हो सकते हैं. मेनली लाइक देयर मे बी बॉर्डर इश्यूज, है ना, डिस्प्यूट्स ओवर द टेरिटरीज, dispute over like water disputes, है ना, dispute over the like claim of on the rivers or the water of the river, है ना, like that. So these kind of disputes arises. Now what about the India and Bangladesh? So there are several issues between India and Bangladesh also. One of the issue is like sharing of the Ganga and Brahmaputra river waters. This is also very important water dispute between India and Bangladesh. The Indian government has been unhappy with Bangladesh denial of illegal immigration to India. Many many illegal immigrants, they come, they just cross the borders, cross the fencing of the border between India and Bangladesh. They come here, Bangladesh denies it. So we are unhappy with Bangladesh denial of illegal immigration to India. Many times this also happens that its support for anti-Indian Islamic fundamentalist groups, that is also not good in the interest of India. So that is also very important issue between India and Bangladesh. Many anti-India Islamic associations, fundamentalists are there in Bangladesh. Bangladesh refusal to allow Indian troops to move through its territory to northeastern India. Through that chicken neck corridor, we just moved to the northeastern region. You all are familiar with the Indian map. So many times we have demanded from Bangladesh that give us a kind of a particular like transitional area, so that we can move from the area of like Bengal and other region to the northeastern part of India. But Bangladesh denies, Bangladesh refused this demand. So that is also another issue. And its decision not to export natural gas to India or allow Myanmar to do so through Bangladesh territory. This also is very important issue between India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh refuses to allow have a kind of a relationship between India and Myanmar. Bangladesh does not allow its territory to be used. So that's also a very important issue between India and Bangladesh. Bangladeshi government have felt that Indian government behaves like a regional bully. Now, what about the point of view of Bangladesh? So Bangladesh thinks that India behaves like a dominated force. They behaves like a regional bully. Being a big country in this region, over the sharing of the river of waters. They like what Bangladeshi thinks, what Bangladeshi government thinks in some extent. They think that Indians also encouraging rebellion in the Chittagong Hills, trying to extract its natural gas and being unfair in trade also. The two countries could not resolve their boundary dispute for a long while. We had even boundary disputes also. The current government in the last in 2014, when Narendra Modi government came, they even had agreement with Bangladeshi government, and they sorted out much of the dispute of the border issues. So that has been very good. So that is the relationship between India and Bangladesh. Despite their differences, India and Bangladesh do cooperate on many issues. We have differences, however, we have cooperation also. So each economic relations have improved considerably in the last 20 years between India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh has also become a kind of very important part of India's look east policy that has now changed to look east to act east. You know, that wants to link up with Southeast Asia via Myanmar. So Bangladesh has become very important part of that act east policy on disaster management, on environmental issues. There has been much of the cooperation between both the countries. The two states have cooperated regularly on these issues. In 2015, they exchanged certain enclaves. That's what we were discussing. जो अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था ना, like Narendra Modi when became prime minister, after that they even had agreement with Bangladesh and resolved कुछ जो बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट्स थे हमारे उनको रिजॉल्व करने की कोशिश की और बहुत सक्सेसफुल भी रहे। तो वही आपको हमें बता रहा है कि 2015 में हमने क्या किया, उनके साथ में एग्रीमेंट्स किए एंड इवन वी एक्सचेंज सर्टेन एनक्लेव्स, है ना, जो हमारे बीच में फेंसिंग को लेके या और इश्यूज को लेके जो डिस्प्यूट्स थे, तो वी हैड एग्रीमेंट विद बांग्लादेश. Efforts are on to broaden the areas of cooperation further by identifying common threats and being more sensitive to each other's needs. कई सारे एफर्ट्स जो हैं वो लगाए गए हैं ताकि कॉपरेशन के एरियाज बढ़े, एक दूसरे के जो इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स हैं, इंटरनल मैटर्स हैं, उनकी हम रेस्पेक्ट करें, सॉवरेनिटी की रेस्पेक्ट करें. सो दैट्स हाउ दिस हैज बीन द रिलेशनशिप ऑफ इंडिया एंड बांग्लादेश. Question separately can be asked from you about the relationship between India and Bangladesh. So there has been a kind of mixed relationship, cordial relationship also, and some issues also we have, issues of the differences. Now come to next to neighboring country, that is Nepal first, then Sri Lanka. So Nepal and India enjoy a special relationship. That is very few parallels in the world. You know, very interesting fact that there has been a treaty between the two countries that allows the countries of the citizens of the countries that we can even without passport, without visa, we can visit each other's country. So that's a very interesting treaty, and that has been the relationship of India and Nepal. So a treaty between the two countries allows the citizen of the two countries to travel to and work in the other countries without visa and passport. Despite this special relationship, we also have differences. मतलब कितने भी अच्छे रिलेशनशिप हो, डिफरेंसेस तो होंगे, यहाँ पे भी डिफरेंसेस हैं. क्या डिफरेंसेस हैं? The governments of the two countries have had trade related disputes in the past. The Indian government has often expressed displeasure at the warm relationship between Nepal and China, at the Nepal government's inaction against anti-India elements. So the relationship between Nepal and China, because China, like you all know that in politics, China is like trying to create some proxy against India, and that's how it is it is in our national interest. It is against our national interest. So therefore, the relationship between Nepal and China is like it creating problems for India, and we see it as a suspicion. So Nepal and China at the Nepal government's inaction and Nepal government's inaction against India's anti-India elements, that also like fills that fear in our mind. So this has been the relationship of India and Nepal. The remaining portion of this topic we will do in our next class. And thank you very much, everyone.